Definitely feelings got involved, so I'm excited. Hate that guy.
I can't stand them. I'm obsessed.
Oh my god, okay. Tyler, my humble, amazing bae, got me this like 10-inch selfie ring light with tripod stand. He thought it was gonna be a full-size tripod because the one that I use for like self-tapes is awful. I got it from Best Buy years and years and years ago. The light works fine, everything about it works fine, but the base of the tripod itself slips and slides all of the time. I have to prop it up so finely or else it will just like start going down in the middle of a tape, and he hates it and it gives him so much stress every time I ask him to read for me. So he got me this thinking it was going to be like a full-size one, and I was like, oh, I think this is like a little one for your phone, and he was like, and I was like, no, this is so much fun. So anyway, I'm about to try it for the first time. I have it plugged in. I haven't turned it on yet. Oh, it comes with this little cord and it's like a USB plug. It's so small. I wish you could see it. I'm on my floor. I don't have to like prop it on anything and like stack boxes 10 high. I can just like adjust it and I'm just like, here, let there be light, you know? Mode? What does that mean? Ooh, do I look tan? Was that different? Ooh, cool tone. Oh, 3 colors. Okay, so only those 3. Okay, this one, is this my color? Am I looking good? There's an up and down button. Okay, so the up and down buttons don't work, but that's okay. I'm not mad. Wait, this is so fun. I feel so professional now. You can probably see all of the oil stains even better now. Yes, you can on my sweatshirt. I tried to flip an egg in the pan earlier, 3 eggs, in fact, for my avocado toast. One of them decided to completely jump ship, yolk and all. In the process, I didn't even realize this happened until later. I was like, oh, I just must have gotten water on myself when I like washed my hands after I cleaned up all the yolk and stuff. And no, it's all of the oil that was in the pan, actually. Love that for me. Welcome to this video. The first book that we're gonna talk about that I am currently like 60-something% of the way through. Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. I've been listening to the audiobook of this on Spotify. I am not one for audiobooks. I have really bad ADHD. As much as I'd love to be the girly that's like, I'm gonna clean my house and listen to an audiobook. I'm gonna go on the subway. I listened to it on the way home from work today. 2 days ago when I started it, I had to hit that 10 seconds back button like a million times because I just was so distracted by the stimuli in the environment. I was missing major plot details. Also, I feel like the structure of the book was confusing me a little bit, but that's one thing I want to say now that I'm really enjoying. This is kind of like a past and present timeline book because we have our main character, Hani. In our present day, she is a very well-respected journalist. The thing that kind of set off her entire career was this PR piece that she did for a very famous celebrity, Gabe Parker, 10 years prior. Gabe Parker had just gotten cast as the newest James Bond because he is an American that's always been marketed as a himbo. He's from Montana. He's like a rugged country boy. He's always been described as like easy on the eyes, but also not a lot going on behind them. You know what I mean? People were pissed, especially because he's best friends with like another A-list actor named Oliver Matthias, who is British and just classy and sophisticated and should have been James Bond. His PR team reached out to her to write this PR piece for him to basically cast him in a positive light so people would stop being mad and just realize like, hey, he's a really good guy. We love this guy, right? And because he was such a big star, once that first article came out, everyone was obsessed with it, boosted her career, made him look good, mutually beneficial deal, right? Now, the roles have kind of switched. He is the one who's kind of down on his ass, divorced himself. He is a recovering alcoholic who's 2 years sober. And so if you can guess what I'm gonna say, his team has to reach out basically being like, can you please write another piece on this man? Everyone was so obsessed with the first interview that you guys had together. Everyone was swooning for him, and normies were empathizing with her because she was just like a, you know, down on her luck writer who got to spend 72 hours with an A-list celebrity, and like everyone's theorizing that things happen. And we learn in the prologue that definitely feelings got involved. When she was approached with this idea, she was very hesitant because she's like, I try not to think about those 72 hours with Gabe Parker if it's the last thing I do. Just like that too, the audiobook said it just like that. But anyway, that's the whole premise. So like after the prologue where she was approached with this idea, then goes to the interview that she wrote the first time around. It was called Shaken Not Stirred. We get what was actually written and released to the public, and then it goes to the then chapters where we get to see her actually going through the interview with him, meeting him in real time, having all of these conversations. Then usually after the then chapters, it switches to the now chapter where it's 10 years later, meeting each other after all this time. I really was not down with the structure in the beginning. It was kind of confusing to me, and I think it was mainly because, again, I'm not used to audiobooks, so I had no way to see how it was formatted on the page, and it was kind of a lot for my brain to keep track of. I am loving the way that things are being revealed over time. I have still not heard about like the salacious details of that 72-hour weekend. Something happened after that weekend where he like went off with another woman, and it crushed her to her core. It made her feel so replaceable, like a stupid, naive idiot who thought that like he was really into her when maybe he was just leading her on so that she would write nice things about him. Loving the dialogue as well. It's not because of like any crazy banter or anything, but I have to say that like Alyssa Sussman has not had these characters shut up. Our FMC in 60 pages has talked to 2 friends and the co-star of Gabe Parker. Other than those 3 people, it has been exclusively the MMC Gabe Parker, which means we are getting so much interaction. And I just love that. I just want to hear people talk. I love dialogue. And originally in the beginning, I was a little bit like, okay. I wasn't really getting much from him, but you could tell that there was a reason behind it. And I still 60% in. I don't really know why he clams up when he's getting interviewed. I was really wishing that it was dual POV for a while because I was just like, I know there's something behind that thick skull and I want to hear it. I'm hearing how his eyes are lingering a little bit too long on her, or like every time she asks him a question, he asks her 6 more because he's like so intrigued by who she is as a person. I can tell there's something there. But now I'm okay with it not being dual POV because as soon as it switched to the now timeline, we're still slowly learning. This is what I'm saying. We get crumbs of events that have happened that she kind of talks around, and then later in other places you'll get that information revealed. So it's like, it's beautiful the way that she's hooking us along the way of like, wait, what happened when he was in a Broadway play and she came opening night? What did she see behind the stage door? What did she see? And why didn't they talk to each other? Or like, who called who drunkenly and made themselves a fool? She keeps writing things about him. Don't know because I haven't ever seen it with my eyes because I'm just listening to it from an audiobook, so I can't picture what the sentence is, but it's like, he's looking at me like he wishes that he was looking up at me from his knees or something, and I'm like, oh my god, Alyssa Sussman. Whoa, just talked for 14 minutes about that and didn't think I was going to because I didn't realize I was having this many strong emotions until I sat down to talk about it. Anyway, so I'll update you when I finish that one. And then the final 2 books that we're gonna be reading for this video, I'll just go ahead and tell you them now. How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong, which I got from Book of the Month eons ago. Yeah, okay, so I just went ahead and got it from my bedroom, and this was my April of 2024 pick from Book of the Month. I have been putting this off for some reason, don't even really know why, but I just thought it would be the perfect color combo for a video such as this. And the other book that we're gonna be reading is my most recent Book of the Month for January 2026, and that is Most Eligible by Isabel Engel. This is fun because I read the short little snippet of it that Book of the Month offered. The first page has the transcript of the reality TV show that they are filming. One thing about me, I've talked about it enough, that's why The Favorites is one of my favorite books. I love when books put script pages into their structure, into the format. I just think that's so fun. So I'll get into this later, but I think this is about a girl who goes undercover on a reality TV show, and I think she falls in love with the producer, but I could be very wrong. So I'm excited.
I hope the audio isn't going through my headphones right now, but I'm walking to the subway because I have a show tonight. I am 64% of the way through now, which is not much farther, but we're finally in the past timeline, the last 72 hours, where we're about to like see what went down that weekend, and I'm very excited. Our character is like at that house party now. I don't know what's about to happen on the subway, but I'm gonna have to school my reactions so that nobody's aware of what's happening. And I would just like to add that I know we're about to get to whatever happened because the next chapter is 30 minutes long, and that's the longest chapter of the entire audiobook. So thank you, Alyssa Sussman, for not skipping out.
Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. Honestly, for once, I don't really have too much to say. I thought this was a really solid romance book. I wasn't head over heels for the characters. It definitely didn't have the same oomph that other books like One Golden Summer or certain other romance books have for me, but I was always excited to be in their story. And I think my favorite things were just the little mystery that transpired throughout, where it was like, what happened during that 10-year span where they weren't really talking to each other. Finding those out and the way that she kind of sprinkled the breadcrumbs throughout was really fun to go along with. I also just thought it was sweet. It is endearing. It's very funny. It's great if you want to read a book of somebody falling in love with their celebrity crush. There were also some things addressed in this as well, just like being a woman in your career and the different ways that women are scrutinized. Even if they're in a successful career, it can still be every move they make is under attack, and also everything that they've achieved is not because they deserve it or they're a hard worker or they're good at what they do. It's because they slept with someone to get them there. There's that whole narrative that she's kind of walking around the entire book, which I thought was a really interesting addition, because obviously the idea too of a present day relationship together would confirm the rumors that like she just slept with him all those years ago and doesn't deserve this and is now linked to him and his career and kind of like leeching off of him. And that's definitely something interesting that her character dealt with, were these insecurities and emotions of feeling like she's not really enough. She also had this little bitch boy ex-partner that was parroting that information into her ear constantly, so hate that guy. I also just liked, like I said, the present day timeline. That's really where it kicked into gear for me. I love a little second chance romance trope. I love when characters have a lot of like unsaid tension and things that they're kind of trying to step around. Anytime when they were together that there was clearly more things they wanted to say, or there were clearly emotions bubbling under the surface, but they weren't really quite sure how to address it just yet. That was really really fun. It was also really sweet the way in which we saw that little gestures were made with the other person in mind. That's something that you never would have known because they weren't in contact at the time, but I love when all that stuff comes out after where it's like, wow, this thing that you did that I thought was just a totally random move was actually because you heard that this person was really rude to me and this was your way of trying to look out for me from afar. I loved all that. I thought it was really wonderful. Really solid romance book. Probably would end up giving it like a 4.25 stars. Would definitely recommend it. Okay, I started this last night. I just stopped reading this morning. I'm only on page 29, which is chapter 4. Barely into this at all. Only thing I want to say, I'm intrigued to see how these characters change. And I just want to say that because I'm finding it very interesting. I can tell I'm already not resonating with them, but in a way where like I need to keep reading. Like instead of it putting me off from the book and me being like, I don't really like these characters already, it's more I don't like these characters already, so I must know how they change because I can tell they're going to. And I need to see it because the foundation is there. I'm resisting every single urge that I have to sit here and spew. I was gonna honestly wait until like 100 pages in to really give my initial thoughts and feelings, to really just give the premise of this book because I am reading it and I simultaneously am like, but then I'm simultaneously like, yes, let me elaborate. The writing has so much personality to it and it's clearly working. I am finding these characters so intriguing, very invested in their states of mind, in their future conflict, itching to know what ends up happening. Like I just need these characters in a room together all of the time. I need to hear how being in the same room together makes them feel, who's gonna say what, who's not gonna say something they're thinking, what is that person thinking and why didn't they say what they were thinking. I'm just experiencing so many weird things with this read so far and that's kind of why I want to talk about it. On page 1, we are at the funeral for our main character Helen Zhang's little sister Michelle. Michelle has just passed away in a car accident. It was ruled as more of a self-inflicted accident because there were some search terms in her sister's browser history and there was also some substances found in her toxicology report on the night that she died that also show she wasn't maybe in the right state of mind or she was intentionally self-medicating to make this said act easier. Regardless, the driver of the vehicle was not considered at fault for what happened. That driver being Grant Shepard. He just happened to be the one driving the vehicle when this unfortunate thing happened. Fast forward 13 years into the future. Our main character, Helen Zhang, is a New York Times bestselling author of YA novels. Her most recent series, called the Ivy Paper series, is getting adapted into a TV show, and Grant Shepard is one of the head writers in the writer's room in LA trying to adapt her books for TV. This book is written in third person, but we do get both Helen and Grant's perspective. In the same chapters, we get her and then it switches to him, which I'm loving. This book is so wordy, but in the weirdest way, I also feel like if I were to write a book, this is exactly how I would sound. I don't mean that in a way where it's like, this is so impressive and like I could do it. I just mean that like she loves to throw words in italics and have it be a little mental quip that our character adds in her inner monologue, or something that someone has said to her that she'll just throw in the middle of a sentence and that will kind of mark a mini flashback that she's having, or even just in the imagery that she uses sometimes to describe different interactions or color certain emotions that she's feeling. It's not complex. I don't want to say that like it's hard to understand because I can read it and I can understand it at face value if I want it and move on fine. But the amount of times that I've gone back and electively chosen to reread portions of this just so that I can understand the totality of the situation is honestly the reason why I'm only at page 50, even though I'm so intrigued. Like there's so many complex things that these characters are going through, which I'm loving. Like just as individuals, obviously the situation that they found themselves in is super complex. Just the way they've internalized it as people. It's not just as simple as like grief for Helen. It's grief that's laced with anger and also guilt and also resentment, but also this secret wish to empathize with Grant and the banishment of that thought because she knows that if she did give him the time of day, she'd have no one to put her anger towards anymore except maybe her sister. And like she can't be mad at somebody who's dead. So like there's that complicated web. Like it's a lot. When you get it, you get it. And I'm feeling things. And that's just what I want to say. All I know is that I may not always know right away, but when I find out, I'm there. All I know is I gotta continue. I can tell that it's something that I'm gonna savor every moment of already. A fun turn of events. I am now on page 80. So it kind of sped through the first 3 weeks in the editing room or in the writer's room after she really had her first sort of encounters with Grant where he was trying to like get to know her a little bit more, clear the air, and she just was not having it. She is so against this man, only wants to have to interact with him while she's in there and that's it. And then in her POV, we're learning that she's just like very anxious. She's never been the person in a conversation who's really good at knowing what to say next or how to chime in the banter like everyone else is. Like she just feels so out of place in this room. Like she isn't necessary. She shouldn't be there. Other people in the room are starting to get that. Grant can realize that she's nervous. Her boss, like the showrunner, pulls her aside one day and is like, what can we do to make you less nervous? And she's like, I'm not nervous, what? And the girl's like, you need to be better at detecting your own bullshit. Love her, love that character. In an effort to try to boost group morale, we had a fun little switch up around page like 60, and they're going on like a writer's bonding retreat. Our girl Helen is on an edible. Something happened and things have kind of escalated a little bit. First, in a really fun way. One thing about Yulin Kwong is she is writing the tension between these characters so well. And I also just think it's because there's the big elephant in the room of the thing that happened. From the jump, the way they notice each other, the way that they reference each other at all, good or bad, I have been feeling insane tension. That is another exciting aspect, that when things escalated for a moment, I was kind of like, okay, this is a fun development, not mad. Anyway, just wanted to mention that there was a new development and our main girl is acting very, very much out of character, and I don't believe that it's something that she would do just because she's on an edible. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know she's not in her right state of mind, but like kissing the palm of his hand because he has a freaking boo-boo? Kissing your sister's killer on the hand? Also, is this turtleneck necklace combo giving Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Be honest. I need you to know that I have run out of time for reading. I actually read for longer than I was supposed to. I'm on page like 170 something, I think 175. I have to go to work. Like, I just don't have any more time. I have to get ready for work. When I tell you that this book has tension like no other, this book has tension like no other. I'm still having a little bit of conflicting feelings, not at this current moment, but I don't know why I'm still crouching. This is an awful angle. It did lose me for a little bit there before the 100-page mark, and then until like page 130, it was still kind of losing me. I will talk about it eventually. I just feel like there was like a level of comfortability that just jumped. Like we just, something happened, something changed, and I feel like I can remember the scene that maybe you could pinpoint was the start of the change, but like they just became very friendly out of nowhere. Anyway, I had to lock in and just kind of accept what was happening because I was like, I just don't think that this makes sense. But then I did just that, and I accept the information that I was given at face value. And I locked back in. And you guys, I can't stand them. I'm obsessed. I don't even understand all the banter that's happening. Sometimes they say things and I have to, again, read it 1,000,001 times to be like, what was the hidden meaning of this? But all I know, black ink on a page is making me feel violent in the best way. I gotta go. I have 30 pages left of this book. You guys, I'm really scared. I don't feel like 30 pages is enough to fix everything that's going on right now because nothing is going right at the moment, which, like, of course, classic third act conflict fashion. Usually there's a lot that needs to be recovered at the end of books. It finally started to pick up again. And like a lot of the time that I've been reading this, like earlier today, I was irritated. Same thing I was feeling with Phantasma, where I'm like, y'all gotta stop doing each other because you need to have an emotional breakthrough. Like, you need to lock in, make a new discovery. My God. They were just in like this lovey-dovey la la land, which is frustrating in and of itself too, because there's like conflicting emotions that were still being experienced. And like, do I love hearing how our main character is feeling about certain things happening and then continues to do those said things? No, I'm not loving that at all. Do I feel like sometimes I'm reading it and I'm like, this is a waste of a written scene? Like, it just feels a little bit repetitive. I don't know. I guess I'm realizing right now that I'm just wishing there was like more attention to the overall story. And like, don't get me wrong, these characters are tortured. They're a little bit damaged, but it's also like, I think that's also just my personal opinion in romance books too. I love a slow burn. They finally, you know, like once that happens, it's just kind of like, okay, then what's the build up? You know what I mean? Like, it already happened, it's already done. And then so when it just keeps happening after that, it's like, okay, I'd rather you guys fight, sort of. Do you know what I mean? I was irritated earlier by some of the things that I was reading, and now I'm absolutely loving it. And I'm actually really sad that in 30 pages, I'm not gonna have any more content to read about Helen and Grant, because I love the two of them so much, and I've been loving their dynamic. And I don't want to reduce this book to a trope. I also feel like saying this is like a he falls first trope is the most inadequate summation of this entire story. So I'm saying that very loosely, but just know that my man Grant Shepherd is down bad. Another dynamic that's been explored even more, but has kind of been sprinkled throughout the entire text, our main character is the child of Chinese immigrants. This relationship that she has with her parents, being the firstborn daughter and now an only child, but like being the eldest daughter, a weight to that, there's a responsibility to that even sometimes siblings don't understand, which is a very interesting thing that we're getting to learn about, of how her and Michelle kind of operated when they were growing up together. But yeah, specifically specifically the relationship to Helen's mom. We've gotten so much more into how that works, and also it's just really interesting for me to be reading about this and like the dynamic of growing up in a Chinese household. And I just keep thinking about how exciting it is for people that did grow up in a household like that to be reading this and seeing their experiences represented. Like, that's so exciting. It's just beautifully written. Like, there are so many conflicting emotions that she has toward her parents and the guilt that comes from that. Obviously, like, she feels immense guilt from being kind of suffocated by their love, and the way that they choose to love her isn't exactly fitting for her life, and it becomes a lot, and she wants to distance herself from that. But then also she needs to feel incredibly grateful for the sacrifices that they made for her and the life that they were able to create. I am determined to finish this tonight, and I am so nervous. I don't know where this is going. I know it's probably gonna end up wrapping up in a nice neat little bow, and so I'm just really grateful to be like along for the ride. I'm in bed. Just got back from work. I started Most Eligible today by Isabel Engel. I am 38 pages through this. My goal for tonight is to try and read to page 100. I do have work at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I really need to go to bed. I'm gonna try and just see what I can get through. I was sort of right on what I thought I remembered about this book. We basically have our main character, Georgia, who is a freelance investigative journalist. It's not paying the bills. She's really yearning for a stable job. She works currently for a magazine. I guess she doesn't really work for the magazine, but she has a friend who works for the magazine called Vivid. She says, hey, if you do one last piece for me exposing all of the crazy, inhumane things that are going on behind the scenes of this reality TV show, then I will go ahead and pitch you very strongly for a permanent job at the magazine. So that's where we start off. Her very first day, night one on this reality dating show. If you're a fan of Love Island, if you're a fan of The Bachelor, I think you'll really enjoy this. I'm really enjoying hearing how there's no privacy, which we obviously already know. If you've ever seen a reality dating show, you know that they never give those guys a moment alone. It's fun to hear about how there's a producer at every corner lurking, trying to get her reaction to something. Everything is really staged. A million more people in the room than you think that there are. Not even just the camera guys, but people that are actively like scrutinizing the way that everyone moves, pinpoint like who can we exploit next for a juicy poll clip. The major thing that we really learned is that the host of the reality dating show is Rhett Auburn, who's a country singer that she had a one-night stand with, I think like a year or so ago. She's majorly hung up on this man. He also happens to be the winner of this reality dating show 2 years prior. There's incredibly high stakes riding on this. She cannot get found out that she's essentially undercover. They've already alluded to this, but it's giving very Miss Congeniality vibes in the sense that she's undercover, not really cut out to be the pageant queen that she must let everyone believe she is. I'm liking it so far. I think the writing is really funny. It's made me laugh a couple times. All good things. My ponytail's pissing me off. This is so fun. Me being an actor. Ow. I look good. I don't think I do. I need a fucking production designer. Some problems that I have with books like this, we just have to buy into this experience that they had together that we were not there for. And sometimes that's hard because it's like, I clearly did not have a one-night stand with this man. I do not understand the hang-up. And obviously that's just going to take a little bit of buying into. You have to buy into the premise of any book. But I will commend her for having writing that at least allows us to feel what our character feels when she is remembering this experience in a way that I feel like is effective. Not just being like, oh my god, I remember his hands on my body. Ugh. And then the reader has to be like, okay, I guess that was so awesome. His hands on your body. Heat shoots across his face, his green eyes dilating, and suddenly I feel him everywhere like he's water, lapping at my back, trickling down my neck, slipping between my legs. The way that when you slip into a pool, the water kind of engulfs you, I like that as imagery for how his gaze kind of like engulfs her. Guys, should I be a writer? It's weird because she's being confronted with somebody that she had a one-night stand with that she obviously has feelings for, but also that night when he asked her what her name was, she said it was Gracie, which is the pseudonym that she writes under for all of her investigative articles. Now she's like, great, you're gonna tell everybody that I'm this undercover Gracie Hart person and I'm not Georgia and I'm just lying and everyone's gonna know. She's like paranoid as hell that everyone's just gonna see right through her and know that she's not there for the reason that she's supposed to be. morning. I'm gonna try to finish this today. I just left off on page 142. I think this is like 45% of the way through. I'm enjoying it. I really don't have too much to say. We've had a couple more drama-filled moments, I guess, just within like the girls that are competing for this guy's attention. We've definitely got some more scenes with Rhett as well, where before we even hit page 100, we kind of got like a moment of reconciliation between the two of them, which I really enjoy because I feel like I just would have been a little bit annoyed if it was like the thing that was being unsaid for the entire book, and then it finally came at the end where he was like, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's better that it's out in the open because now we can make new discoveries. Like, I'm kind of glad they got over the hurdle that they both needed to get over. And not that like everything is good between them. Like, she still is under the impression that he hates her, still anxious that she's not really getting enough dirt on all these people, but now she very much kicked into this gear of like, I cannot go home because if I go home, I will lose the potential at a full-time job. There are more concerns that she's aware of now that her beef with Rhett has kind of been temporarily settled. It is still very heavily trying to convince us of all the passion and tension that they shared during that one night. It has gone back and given us some more info into what happened that night, which is really nice because it's not just like, oh, we hooked up, fade to black. We talked about this that night and then also talked about this. So like she'll replay those moments in her head while she's having conversations with him. She just like loves to drift off into her memory and think of that time. So it feels like we're there. I know I said in the beginning that a lot of my critiques with books like this sometimes are just, I wasn't there. I have no stakes in whatever happened between the two of y'all. But now that we're getting to see a little bit of that night, it's kind of like, okay, we're slowly understand why she's a little bit hung up. It's fun. Okay, we have made it to the end of today's reading vlog. I'm gonna go ahead and give you my final ratings and thoughts on How to End a Love Story and Most Eligible. Backtracking first to How to End a Love Story. I need to sit with this one for a minute. Unfortunately, I think it just missed the mark for me one too many times. There was so much potential with this book and I was in love with so many individual things about it. There was so much that did work for me, but honestly, when I finished this and went to go log it on Goodreads, I was specifically looking for a friend of mine's review. I thought I had a friend that read it recently. Don't know why I thought that because she had, but I do have a different friend that read this like a year ago and she gave it a 2-star. After reading her review, I realized that I resonated with a lot of what she was saying. Not only that, but a lot of the reviews that were coming up under this book just in general were decently low rated. I mean, they weren't 1-stars, but it was like 2s, 3s, 4s, I think were like the highest. And a lot of people were having the same critiques that I kind of always had while I was reading this, and they were just things that were in the back of my mind that I was like, well, maybe I'm just being harsh. I don't really know. I think reading those made me afraid to like it because I was like, wow, a lot of people are saying that this isn't really a great book. And that's awful. I should just trust my own opinion because at the end of the day, what is it? It's an opinion. So like, who cares if I like this? I think the pacing of this just didn't really work for me. I think that thing in the beginning that I was talking about, it just wasn't emotionally justified for me. So it was really hard for me to get behind and therefore be interested in the subsequent 50 pages after that, where they were just going in spicy La La Land. Didn't hate those scenes, but emotionally it was hard for me to justify it. Wasn't obsessed with the way that this ended. I thought the whole epilogue of it all was just living a little bit in like stereotypical romance land. I mean, I don't fault the book for ending it that way. I just rather had this end kind of ambiguously. I wish we would have heard more from Grant. I feel like I didn't really ever get a handle on where he was coming from. We were told where he was coming from, but I just wish that was more explored. I think the book brings up a lot of things, and so sometimes it's hard to give the time that each of those topics deserve in order for it to feel fully fleshed out. I think I'm gonna confidently stick to my guns about the things that I did like, and I'm gonna give it a 4.25 stars. Moving on to Most Eligible by Isabel Engel. I just finished this earlier today. I'm gonna give this a 4 stars. I debated giving a 4.25. I always rate books in relation to other books because I'm like, if this was a certain rating, did I like it more or less than this? And that's kind of how I gauge it. Didn't emotionally connect to Georgia and Rhett the same way I did to Helen and Grant. So for that, it's gonna be a slightly lower rating, but I think that this is such a fun book. Thought the ending was kind of crazy. It just kind of like all blew up, and some of it I was like, is this justifiable? I don't even really care. It was a fun time. And I just feel like this book isn't that serious. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Obviously a lot of thought that was put behind this. Like the inner workings of the drama, it was well thought out. There were multiple things that we were trying to keep from coming out. And I did end up enjoying Georgia and Rhett. Like I really did. I thought that they had very sweet moments. Honestly, this book was not as spicy as I thought it was going to be, especially because we kept being reminded again of all the tension that they had and the fact that their relationship is based off of a one-night stand. I thought we were going to get like a crazy spice scene, and we really didn't. It was more about the reality dating show. And I also just love that. I think the premise of learning about one of the most toxic types of reality TV shows that there are, dating shows, is such a great premise. I have no qualms about this book. I would confidently give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you you've all been having a wonderful February. I hope that you had a wonderful Valentine's Day, whether you were just celebrating yourself, your girls, your partner. I hope that it was a day filled with a lot of love. I will talk to you later. Bye.